Aldous Huxley said that words can be like x-rays if you use them properly. They'll go through anything you read, and you're pierced. Our next contributor is Hana Tsegaye. Hana has 2 self-portraits and a memoir, and she has asked me to read a portion of her memoir on her behalf. Here's her second self-portrait. If you'd like to read along, it starts on page 14, and we'll read 3 pages. I was born with Treacher-Collins syndrome. It was caused by genetic mutations in one of my body's chromosomes. People with Treacher-Collins will have unusually shaped eyes, jaws, chins, and cheekbones. Many, including myself, have hearing loss and dental problems. Some will have vision loss, too. And some babies may be born with a hole in the roof of their mouth. For those of us with the condition, we may look different from other people, but in reality, we are the same inside. Growing up in Ethiopia, I was not aware that I had Treacher-Collins. I was a happy child and never wondered why people would stare at me with a scared, sad, or shocked look. However, when I was a teenager, I began to understand that I was different. I would have a difficult time leaving home to go to school or out in public. I tried to push away my feelings because they made me sad. It was hard for me to be strong and go back to my normal, happy state. When I was young, we lived in the city, Addis Ababa, with lots of little stores nearby that we could walk to and buy cookies and gum. I was the second youngest in my family, very confident and full of joy. I remember older relatives holding my hands up high and twirling me in circles, then tossing me up in the air. I remember pretending to dance like Michael Jackson. How my friends and family would laugh. They all loved me. I spent most of my time with them playing outdoor games like hide and seek, kebeto, and Monday, Tuesday. They were comfortable with me and made me feel that we were all the same. Therefore, I never thought about my face, and I was able to forget whether or not people were staring at me. Ever since I was 5 years old, I attended a school for the deaf. I had many friends there, and most students had known me for years. We communicated freely with each other through Amharic Sign Language. I was happy at that school and enjoyed learning. My parents worked hard to find treatment for my condition. There was a doctor I'd see in Addis Ababa. My mom would take me there often. He wanted me to see specialists in France. However, the French embassy would not grant us a visa without additional paperwork from that doctor, and when we went back to meet with him, he had disappeared. My mom then traveled with me to Eritrea, where her family lived. We visited her parents and also went to a clinic. There were German doctors there who discussed taking me to Germany for treatment. When we returned to Ethiopia, the doctors said they'd call us. However, soon after that, a war broke out between Eritrea and Ethiopia. We were not able to return to the clinic, and that was the last time I saw my grandparents. 2 years later, when I was 11, my dad took me on a trip to South Africa. The flight was long, and my heart raced as the plane flew up and down. We landed in Johannesburg and stayed in a beautiful hotel. For the first time, I saw white people everywhere and people running and walking in the street for exercise. It looked to me like America. The next day, my dad took me to a hospital. We walked down long corridors to meet with different doctors, including surgeons and an audiologist. As they examined me, everyone was friendly. The surgeons told my dad I would have to wait until I was 16 to have surgery, but the audiologist placed a bone-conducting hearing aid on my head. I heard for the first time. When my dad asked me, "Do you hear me?" I said, "Yes." My dad and I were amazed. We had never heard of such a device. Several weeks after returning to Ethiopia, my dad decided to switch me to a regular school. I was excited to go to the new school because it was more modern than my old school. I was not scared at first. However, the students began asking me questions. What happened to your face? What made your face like that? Were you born that way? What hurt your face? They had so many questions because they had never seen such a face before. I did not understand what was wrong with my face. I felt as if I had come from another planet. My dad asked me which one I preferred, the old school or the new school. I realized I was lucky that I had been at the same elementary school for years when the students had been used to me and felt comfortable with me. They had seen me as a person and not a face. Now at the new school, it was hard to adjust to new people. The students did not understand me and my condition. It was a long and frustrating process to have them realize that we were all the same inside, with common thoughts, feelings, and the ability to learn. In addition to feeling self-conscious there, I found it difficult to communicate and learn. The new hearing aid only helped a little. I still relied mainly on sign language, and the teachers and other students did not understand it. There were no interpreters. I tried my best to lip read, but I missed much of what the teachers were teaching. My English teacher told my dad that I had issues with learning. After several months in the new school, my life and my personality changed. I started crying, feeling lonely, becoming quiet, and more. I realized the reasons my parents had taken me to Eritrea and South Africa. And I do have a quote from Toni Morrison. If there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. So thank you to Hana.